I'd just moved into a new apartment, small, quiet, on the third floor of an older building that smelled like bleach and dust. The first night, I unpacked just enough to pass out in bed. No curtains yet, no TV, just me and a mattress in the dark. Around 3 a.m., I stirred. There was this pressure in my chest, like something heavy was sitting on it. I chalked it up to the move, to stress, maybe anxiety. But then I opened my eyes. I was wide awake, and I couldn't move a single muscle. I could blink, I could breathe, barely. But my arms and legs felt like they were submerged in wet cement. That's when I noticed the air felt wrong, heavy, like I was underwater. And then I saw him. A silhouette stood at the foot of my bed. He wasn't just tall, he was taller than my door frame. No face, no features, just pitch black, like a hole had been cut into the darkness itself. My ears started to ring, this low, pulsing tone that made it hard to focus. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. Then I blinked, and he was closer. Still, no sound. I blinked again. He was right beside me, inches from my face. I could feel the cold pouring off him. His hand, long, thin fingers, reached toward my throat. I felt the pressure, like invisible fingers closing around my neck, but he never touched me. I couldn't breathe. My heart felt like it was trying to beat its way out of my ribs. Then he tilted his head just a little, like he was studying me, and in a voice that sounded like dry leaves blowing across concrete, he whispered, "You're not supposed to see me." Suddenly I could breathe. I sat up, gasping, soaked in sweat. The room was completely empty, no shadow, no figure, nothing. I didn't sleep the rest of that night, but it didn't end there. A few days later, I remembered my door cam, one of those motion-activated ones facing the hallway outside. I checked the recordings from that night. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the hallway light began to flicker. Then, for exactly 7 seconds, something very tall blocked the lens. No sound, no explanation, just 7 seconds of pitch black, like something was standing right outside my door, waiting. I've had sleep paralysis since I was a teenager. It's terrifying, sure. But after a while, you get used to it. The weight on your chest, the inability to scream, the shadows that seem to shift at the edge of your vision. It's like a broken record of nightmares you learn to ignore. But this time, it was different. I woke up around 2:40 a.m., frozen in place, standard routine. I could see my ceiling, feel that familiar crushing pressure on my chest. But something was off. My bedroom door was open. I always shut it before bed, always. And standing in the doorway was me. Same flannel pajama pants, same old band tee, same tangled mess of bed hair. It was me, but wrong. Its posture was rigid, unnatural. And the smile, it stretched way too wide, lips curled up like they were pulled by invisible strings. Its teeth weren't mine. They were too sharp, too many. It didn't move at first. It just stood there, watching. Then, with these slow, jerky head tilts, it began to walk toward the bed. Its arms hung loose at its sides, like they didn't quite know how to swing. The closer it got, the more the air thickened, like breathing through syrup. I couldn't move, couldn't even blink. It reached the side of the bed, then climbed on top of me, straddling my chest. Its face hovered inches from mine. I could smell something, like mold and old blood. Its eyes were hollow, empty, and then it spoke in my voice, but deeper, slower, like something trying to mimic a sound it didn't quite understand. "I like being you," it whispered. "You should rest now." Its eyes turned completely black. Not just the irises, everything. as if two voids had opened up where eyes should be. I felt like I was being pulled in, like I'd vanish inside those pits and never wake up again. I blinked, and just like that, I could move. I bolted upright, gasping for air. The room was silent, doors shut, no sign of anything, but I didn't feel alone. I stumbled to the mirror across the room, needing to see myself, to ground myself, and for just a split second, barely more than a blink, my reflection grinned. Wide. Without me. Now. I don't sleep facing mirrors anymore, but sometimes, late at night, I swear I catch me watching from the shadows. My grandmother used to tell me, if you ever wake up and can't move, don't open your eyes. You might not like what you see. I always thought it was just an old world superstition, one of those creepy sayings passed down to scare kids into behaving. I should have listened. It was a Thursday night, I remember, because I'd stayed up late watching horror movies. The irony doesn't escape me. Around 3 a.m., I woke up suddenly. My chest felt heavy, like something was sitting on it. I couldn't move a muscle, couldn't even wiggle my toes. Classic sleep paralysis. But then I remembered her words. Don't open your eyes. My heartbeat hammered in my ears, my limbs frozen, and for a second, I told myself to keep them shut. But curiosity always wins. I forced my eyes open and immediately wished I hadn't. At the foot of my bed, crouched low, was a woman in a long black dress. Her hair hung in wet, tangled strands that covered most of her face, but what I could see was pale and stretched tight across sharp cheekbones. Her mouth was unnaturally wide, open in a silent scream. No sound, no breath, just horror. She didn't move, didn't blink, just stared straight at me. I wanted to close my eyes, but I couldn't. My body wouldn't respond. It was like I was being forced to watch. Then, without warning, she began to crawl, slow, twitchy, the sound of her joints cracking with each movement. Her hands scraped across the sheets as she dragged herself up the bed inch by inch. Her face was inches from mine now. Her mouth twitched like she was trying to speak, but no words came out. Just a low, pressurized hiss like a kettle ready to scream. And her hand, cold, trembling, reached out toward my face, toward my eye. I thought that was it, that I'd never wake up again, but just as her fingers brushed my lashes, I snapped out of it. I screamed, flung myself out of bed, switched on every light in the room. Nothing. The room was empty, but the sheets, they were wrinkled, crushed at the foot of the bed, exactly where she'd been kneeling. Weeks later, I visited my mom. She showed me an old photo album she'd dug out from the attic, and in one black and white picture stood the same woman. Same dress, same face, same scream. It was my great-grandmother. I'd never met her. But apparently, she died in that house, in my room. I've dealt with sleep paralysis for most of my life. Usually it's just shadows, dark shapes in the corners of my vision, vague impressions I can write off as dreams once I wake up. But one night, it came with a sound. I woke up flat on my back, completely paralyzed. That familiar pressure in my chest made it hard to breathe. But this time, the room felt heavier, like the air itself didn't want me to wake up. Everything was pitch black, except for the faint red glow of my digital clock. 3:03 a.m. That's when I heard it. Breathing slow, deliberate, like someone trying not to be heard. It was coming from the closet, not from inside my head. This wasn't sleep paralysis noise or a hallucination. I could hear the inhale and the exhale. Just a few feet away behind the door. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, just listened as the sound grew deeper, more wet, like the lungs doing the breathing weren't entirely human. And then the breathing stopped. There was a silence so loud it rang in my ears, and that's when the closet doorknob began to turn. Click. The door creaked open, just an inch, then two. The breathing started again. Louder this time, closer. My eyes were locked on the opening. I tried to scream. I begged my body to twitch, flinch, something. But I was a statue. And then something moved. From the shadows of the closet, a shape emerged. It didn't walk. It slid. A hunched figure, dark, oily, like it was dripping black ink. Limbs too long. Its head slowly tilted, like it was studying me. Its breathing quickened, as did mine. And just as it stepped out fully from the closet, it lunged. Right before it reached me, I jolted awake, gasping for air, heart in my throat. I sat up instantly. My body was drenched in sweat. And then I saw it. The closet door was wide open. I never leave it open. Since that night, I started locking the closet every time I go to sleep. Padlock, chain, everything. But a few days ago, I woke up just before dawn, and the lock was still on the floor. The door was open. And there, leading from the dark closet to the side of my bed, was a faint trail of damp footprints, drying slowly into the carpet. I thought I'd woken up in my own room. The walls looked familiar. The ceiling fan hummed quietly above me. My bed felt the same. Same weight, same sheets. But something was off. The light filtering through the blinds wasn't right. Too gray. Too still. And the furniture, it was almost perfect. My desk was in the corner, just like always. But the chair was wrong. Taller, older, covered in something that looked like worn leather or dried skin. And then I realized I couldn't move. I was completely paralyzed, eyes wide open, lying flat on my back. I told myself it was just another episode. I've had sleep paralysis before. I knew the drill. But then the fan started spinning. Too fast. It whirred louder, faster, like the blades were trying to cut through the air itself. And that's when I noticed the walls. My posters were gone, all of them. In their place were drawings, dozens of them, charcoal sketches of faces, twisted, contorted faces, all with gaping mouths, screaming silently. Every one of them was staring right at me. That's when I heard the breathing, slow, deep, right behind me. I couldn't turn my head, couldn't see, but I felt it. Someone was crouched beside the bed, inches from my ear. I could hear the subtle shift of their weight as they leaned closer. Then I noticed the reflection in my TV screen across the room, a blurry, distorted silhouette. A woman, stringy black hair, head twitching at strange angles, no eyes, just smooth, pale skin where her face should have been, and her mouth, it was open, stretched far too wide, but there were no teeth, just a hollow grin. And then she started moving closer until her face hovered above mine, and I felt it, her hand sliding over my own, ice cold, paper thin, her fingers wrapped around mine like they belonged there. Suddenly, the fan stopped. The room dimmed, my posters were back on the wall, and I could move again. I shot up, gasping, alone, but my hand, it was still ice cold, like someone had been holding it for hours. I didn't sleep the next night, but the night after, it happened again. Same breathing, same drawings. And now, those sketches, they're hanging on my wall. I didn't draw them, I didn't put them there, and I have no idea who did.